Hello! Today I'm reading The Legend of Mackinaw Island by Kathy Jo Wargen, illustrated by Gisberg van Frankenhuizen. Long, long ago, Earth was a quieter place, covered entirely with water. There were no mountains or valleys. There were no forests or meadows. There was nothing but one brilliant blue sea with a dark, murky bottom far, far below. But life upon this giant world of water was dazzling and bright. It was filled with the rustling of waves and the splashing of ducks and the jumping of the quick, silvery fish. There were many animals here, and there were days that were filled with nothing but laughter and friendship. In the morning, loons carried soft, downy chicks on their backs, keeping them warm and dry. In the afternoon, otters played silly games upon the water, rolling their long bodies between the curve of the waves. And while the other animals played, beavers bustled back and forth, slapping their fat and shiny tails upon the water. All around them, wee little muskrats tried to keep their pace, but their small, flat paws paddling eagerly against the waves. In the midst of all these fast and playful animals, there was one special creature, who was quiet and slow. His name was Mackinaw, and he was the oldest, wisest, and largest painted turtle to live in the great blue water. Every day, Mackinaw floated in the water in a calm, steady way, and as he floated, he would lift his large, wrinkled neck into the air and blink his deep, round eyes. Mackinaw carried the wisdom of centuries in his words, and he always greeted his friends with a slow, upward smile. The animals were always delighted when Mackinaw floated by, because if they were cold or tired, he would let them climb onto his back and rest in the warm afternoon sun. As if they were sad, he would sing sweet and happy songs to cheer them up. And sometimes, when the air was still and the moment was just right, all of the animals would gather around Mackinaw and listen carefully as he told them wonderful stories about the great world of water. One day, Mackinaw swam steadily toward the other animals. His old, weathered face appeared quite serious, and in a low, broad voice he told the animals how the great spirit of the sky said that now there is time to build a beautiful piece of land for all the animals to rest upon. Mackinaw then told the animals that one of them must dive through the depths of the water and bring up a handful of rich, wet soil and place it upon his back. This, said Mackinaw, would be the beginning of a brand new world. The animals chattered with excitement, and the wise old turtle raised his head and spoke clearly to all of them. I shall give to you a special home upon my weathered back, where rivers ran beneath the sun in a red, gold, and black. To rest upon the water blue, and a land new, a land so new. Naturally, Loons wanted to be the first to try, because she was one of the most loyal and of all the creatures, and was always willing to prove her devotion. She pulled her broad wings tightly to her back, stretched her long, graceful neck, and pointed herself toward the bottom of the world. Moments later, she was up again without a grain of soil in her beak. Disappointed, she hopped aboard Mackinaw's back and to dry her feathers in the sun. Beaver, the most resourceful and hardest working of all the animals, decided that he should be the next to try. He stiffled on his back and twitched his nose, and with a loud slap of the tail, dove deep towards the bottom of the world. Small waves rolled over the spot where Beaver disappeared. A little while later, he rose to the surface holding nothing in his paws. He climbed on Mackinaw's back and closed his eyes in sadness. Then Otter decided it was her turn to try. With a twist, a turn, and a flip of the tail, she plunged into the depths so far. Otter bopped in the surface several times, each time diving a little deeper and deeper. Eventually, she reappeared with no soil in her forefoot. She slipped onto the greatest turtle's back and let out a long, soft sigh. The animals rested quietly on Mackinaw's back, feeling very sad. While they were sitting there, Muskrat came swimming by, and the weary animals told him about their struggle to grab a handful of soil from the bottom of the world. Muskrat was eager to help with his friends, so he told Mackinaw and the other animals that he would dive into the dark, murky bottom far below. Loon, Beaver, and Otter laughed loudly because Muskrat was the smallest and most humble of creatures. His paws were tiny, and his back was weak. Surely he would fail. But Mackinaw did not laugh because he was kind and wise. And because he was a good friend to all the animals, he smiled at Muskrat and nodded his head in a slow, gentle way, approving Muskrat's offer. But the animals were still doubtful as they watched Muskrat take one long, deep breath, filling his round cheeks until they could hold no more. Then, much to their dismay, the little muskrat closed his eyes and dove into the water. Splish, splash, swish. Little round bubbles popped up from all around them as he made his way down to the dim, deep bottom far below. Loon, Beaver, and Otter peered into the water, certain that Muskrat would never reach the bottom. They knew the journey was very long and dark, and they believed he would turn quickly, with no soil in his grass. They waited and they watched, but no Muskrat. The animals waited some time more, but no Muskrat. Time passed and they began to worry. They felt sad that they had just laughed so cruelly at their little friend. Loon let out a long, mournful cry. No Muskrat. Beaver folded his busy hands and lowered his broad, dark face. No Muskrat. Otter stiffened her body and sat straight and still and was unusually serious. But still no Muskrat. And as they waited, dusk began to fall, and the water shimmered in the fading sunlight. The animals searched every wave and swell. They listened to each splash and ripple, hoping to see Muskrat, but he did not appear. The sky began to fill with the whisper of clouds, and all the animals were hushed with sadness. A giant tear rolled slowly down the corner of Mackinaw's eye. Soon Beaver, Loon, and Otter saw a tear slip down onto the great turtle's cheek and began to weeply soft in the moonlight for the loss of their friend and the hope of a new island. But just then, whoosh, popped up Muskrat. He flew over the top of the water with a tremendous force, and his body was trembling with all of his might. His eyes were open wide, and his cheeks were nearly blue. He wedged in the grass with the small furry paws and with the rich soil that was needed to make the beautiful new land. Hooray! Hooray! Mackinaw nodded his large round head in approval and said, I give to you a special place, where sunshines crown the land, where flowers bloom like giant jewels wherever you stand, to float upon the water blue, a home for you, a home for you. All of the animals watched in awe as the muskrat quickly tossed a handful of soil upon the great turtle's back. Magically, the soil grew and grew and grew all around them. Rocks and trees and flowers appeared, and the sunlight poured down upon the bright new land, growing in the middle of the deep blue water. And as the island blossomed, and the low, quiet voice of Mackinaw could not be heard from all around. Time will now stand still, my friends, with an island rich and rare, and though we must part, deep in your heart, my presence will always be there. A special land that's edged in blue, I leave this for you. The animals were happy to have such a lovely place to rest. It was a beautiful and splendid island, a glistening paradise of peace and friendship. As the animals admired their new home, they noticed that Mackinac was gone. They began to miss the turtle so very much. So in the spirit of his friendships, they talked about how kind and wise he was, and how he was always willing to share his back as a place to rest. As they talked, they realized that Mackinac was not really gone, because they saw his large round back in the shape of the island, and heard his deep familiar voice roll through the rocks that lined the shore. And with every wave and bellow, they heard their old friend say, "I give to you this brilliant land, a place for peace and rest. May forest paths and gentle waves call you as their guest. May sunshine drip like honey gold, and sweetness fill the air. May diamonds fall upon the lake, and always glimmer there. I leave to you this island home, my sweet and treasured friends, forever there upon my back, where splendid never ends." And so, to honor their wise old friend, they called the beautiful new land Mackinac Island, a place of all the turtles' great back. The Legend of Mackinac Island.